Hello, old school comics reviews. Okay, this one's a little bit different. I'm just gonna ramble a little bit about Wonder Woman. Basically, I actually kind of had the idea for this a long time ago. It's like several months back around the time where they were doing they announced the Wonder Woman costume change and everything, and everybody on the boards were talking about it. Everybody on the internet's talking about it. Everybody's talking about the websites and the media, and and it's big news. And I was going to do a review of some of the George Perez Wonder Woman comics. And I think what had happened was I realized I was missing some issues, and I was going to get them, and I was going to replace those things, and I just never got around to it. And I just forgot about doing a clip altogether. What made me start thinking about the character again was watching a recent post by a YouTuber called the Mount Vernon Kid, and part of what his clip was about was just the idea that you have Wonder Woman, who's this popular superhero character, this pop culture icon, known worldwide, first female superhero, and so on and so forth. A popularity that transcends just comic book and fantasy culture and things like that. And where a lot of people are either dismissive of the character, or a lot of modern comic book readers don't really give the character a chance, or they hold the character to a higher standard than they would other characters, whereas they'll pick it up and go, oh well, this story didn't blow me away, Wonder Woman sucks, or maybe the art wasn't just as good, or wasn't amazing, so that's it for Wonder Woman, and talk bad about the character or whatever. Wonder Woman sucks, Wonder Woman's just boring or whatever. And just the idea that the character is held to a different, either is dismissed outright or held to a different standard than they would hold whomever, She-Hulk or Power Girl or Ms. Marvel or Spider-Man or Superman or Batman or whatever. And like I said, that's what got me thinking about the character again. I think what you have a lot. Let's face it. I mean, since the costume change and everything like that, sales went up. But traditionally, sales for Wonder Woman have not really been that great for the last however many years. You know what I mean? Just to go back to it, characters like She-Hulk or Power Girl are a lot more popular with comic book fans. You know what I mean? And even though there's any person you stop on the street randomly knows who Wonder Woman is, those people probably aren't buying the comics. Yeah, they're probably not buying the comics. I don't know. I don't know what to say about that. I don't think there's no real. I don't think there's just one answer to it about why why that is. I think one thing of it though is I think a lot of times. Well, here first, just full disclosure. I admit myself. I like the character. I think the character's really interesting and so on and so forth. But I'll admit the last thing I bought was couple of years ago when they did the in DC Comics the whole 1 year after thing, and they had like Terry and Rachel Dawson doing the art, and that was like the last thing I bought, and then I dropped the comic book. Um, I have not read the Gail Simone run. I've heard some good things about it, and I might go back and check it out, but it's just one of those things. There's only so many comics I can buy, and that's that. You know what I mean? So I'm just, just full disclosure. I'm putting myself on the front street there. You know what I mean? But still, like I said, I still think the character's good. I think what happens is a lot of times people bring a lot of baggage to the table when it comes to Wonder Woman, and they like or dislike the character based on what they think the character is, as opposed to what the character actually is, or what's actually going on in the comics or whatever. Um, you know, I think a lot of people just look at it like, oh yeah, Wonder Woman, oh yeah, that's that character from that show my dad used to watch, or they're basing it on the Super Friends or something crazy like that. I think, as a matter of fact, I think it's the exact same problem, only not to the same extent, but I think it's the same problem that Aquaman has. Whenever somebody makes fun of Aquaman, or this is Aquaman, they're making fun of 70s Aquaman from, like I said, Challenge of the Super Friends. Aquaman, he's boring, he's lame. His only power is talking to fish. Well, first of all, that's not the character's only power. And second of all, they haven't portrayed Aquaman in that manner for something like 20 years. But if you've never bothered to pick up one comic book or whatever, you're not going to know that, and I think that's the same thing with Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman, what does she do? She's got that magic rope and she flies around in a visible jet? I don't know. That doesn't sound exciting to me. Um, but there's a lot more to the character. I also think, for good or for bad, actually for good and for bad, a lot of people have these ideas that, the first female superhero, her creator was somebody who believed in women's rights. This is some sort of feminist thing. And I think there are people who, have a chip on their shoulder about feminism or whatever. And they, you see crazy stuff like, oh yeah, Wonder Woman, she's a feminazi. Oh yeah, this is more of that man-hating propaganda or whatever, which of course is not true. I think the flip side probably works too. I wouldn't be surprised to hear if somebody, picked it up thinking it was a feminist thing and going, oh, they pick it up and all of a sudden it's Wonder Woman fighting Ares. It's Wonder Woman fighting Nemesis or something. And they're like, oh, this is not about the patriarchy. I'm sorry, excuse me. This is not about the patriarchy. This isn't about getting more money in the workplace or whatever. This is bad feminism, or whatever. You know what I mean? And I think that's just too bad. I mean, sure, you have the whole female empowerment aspect to the character, but there's more. The character isn't just that, and it certainly isn't, the one-dimensional. It's not a one-dimensional aspect of that. I think the character, my personal view, I think the character is, has a very well. If a lot of people say part of the character's problem is she doesn't have a good rogues gallery, and I don't know about that. I mean, look at the character like, I don't know, Wolverine, or even better yet, Deadpool, I mean, Deadpool's got like a couple guys he fights, but he doesn't have an extensive rogue gallery the way that Batman or Superman or Batman, Superman, or Spider-Man does, or even, I'll even say Wolverine, Wolverine's got like, Omega Red, he's got Sabretooth, he's got a few other guys. But, he doesn't have, 20 guys that are just great supervillains, but people like the character anyway, they find something about that character to like. And I think, getting to what I was about to say, I think there's many different aspects of that character. I think the character has a very rich background, and I think there's different aspects of the character that you can spin stories out of, or find that appeals to different, people out there. I know right now they're really pushing the whole, hard ass woman warrior aspect of the character, and that's there. That's part of the character, but there's also the compassion side. I want to bring peace to my fellow man side. There's the the female empowerment side of the character. There's the goofy campy superhero side where you fight dumb supervillain side. There's the mythology side to the character. So I don't know, but I think the problem is making the character commercial in today's world. You know what I mean? And I think that's what, for whatever reason, they haven't been able to do. It isn't just that the stories aren't as good as the stories you find in these other comics, because let's face it, especially nowadays, the way the comic book companies are just throwing product out there. For every good story of Spider-Man's, there's a bad one. For every good Batman story, there's probably 2 bad ones, And I'm not dissing the characters. I'm just saying, sometimes the stories just aren't so great when they're just throwing stuff out there just to get it out there. Now, Wonder Woman, in her favor, I would say, doesn't have that problem. Wonder Woman's only got one comic, and I think, the editors and the writers could really sit down and, focus on, okay, this is how we're going to approach the character. This is how we can, really make the character interesting and appealing and thing. I think the next step beyond that is to, promote it that way, promote it to the fans and to the general audience and general public. Um, Beyond that, I don't know. I don't know. It might just be one of those weird things too, where people accept the character one facet of pop culture, but don't. It just doesn't work in another aspect. I mean, it's just like Blade. I mean, Blade has some pretty popular movies, but where's his comic book? You know what I mean? I mean, they keep trying it every few years, but it doesn't catch on with the comic book audience. Uh, I totally believe that if they did a television series uh, of for Wonder Woman with the right actors and the right type of stories, whatever, I think it would be immensely possible. Uh, Popular, people keep saying, what happened to the Wonder Woman movie, hey, Joss Whedon was about to go in, they had a script, Joss Whedon was about to go into production and start casting people. The studio pulled the plug on it. Why? I have no idea. For whatever reason, they thought it wasn't going to sell. But anyway, that's my 2 cents. Just bring it back home. I thought the Mount Vernon's Kids video was really good. I think Wonder Woman is a character that has a lot of different. I don't want to say a lot of potential because the character's been around, longer than I've been alive, longer than my parents have been alive. You know what I mean? So it's not that the character has potential; the character has achieved potential. But I guess we say the character has commercial potential as well as just, pop culture significance. And anyway, that's my view. Tell me if you think I'm just babbling. Well, I am just babbling now, but just tell me if you think I'm wrong. Tell me if you agree at all. Just give me your ideas or whatever. Okay. Anyway, that's it. Thanks a lot, and you guys have a good one.